Okay, I think we'll make a start. Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come and listen to us. My name is Neil Montgomery. I'm a service lifecycle consultant at CAD-IT. And today, Dominic and I are going to talk to you about why your business needs better technical documentation. So if we just introduce ourselves, like I mentioned, my name is Neil Montgomery, Service Lifecycle Management Consultant at CAD-IT. Been with the business for 5 years now, and I've worked in multiple areas of the business with multiple customers. Dom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone, welcome. I'm Dominic Santoro. I'm on the pre-sales team, actually over in the US with CAD-IT as well.
Great. So I'll just give you an overview of the agenda for today. So I'll give you a bit of a basic overview of who CAD-IT are and what we do. We're going to talk to you about what traditional documentation looks like and what the process looks like. What are the business benefits of 3D technical documentation? Improving your technical documentation. We'll go through a quick case study just to show you the benefits of it. And then I'm going to give you an overview of technical documentation outsourcing and how CAD-IT can help you with your technical documentation. And then finally, we'll do a summary and some questions and answers. So who are CAD-IT? So CAD-IT is a privately held group with over 600 employees worldwide. Our headquarters is in Singapore, but we have offices all around the world in Europe and Asia, North America, etc. Over the last number of years, we've amassed over 125 international awards, and we really specialize in Industry 4.0. Our mission is to provide world-class Industry 4.0 solutions and services, ultimately to help customers achieve better quality, productivity, and reduce their costs. So I'll talk to you just quickly about some of our partners. We work with a whole range of different technology providers across the world, some of which are now listed on the screen. And particularly today, we're going to talk to you about Cortona 3D, so that you'll see that later on in the presentation. The industries we work in are really broad, so hopefully everyone listening will be able to cater for your needs. So we're in aerospace and defense, automotive, industrial equipment, heavy machinery, medical, marine, electric and autonomous vehicles, and agriculture. So yeah, a really broad spectrum of industries that we work in. And now to give you an overview of what we do. So really there are three core elements to the solutions and services that we offer. These are service lifecycle management, industrial Internet of Things, and augmented reality. And I'll just go a little bit deeper into those now. So with service lifecycle management, we provide technical publication solutions. We provide a service portal, which all the publications are stored in. We provide a service engineering, which is essentially the assessment of design for service, consultancy on all of the above, outsourcing, so publications outsourcing. We have a team of authors all over the world. We provide training on the solutions and the content, and finally interactive guided diagnostics. So we have an interactive guided diagnostic system. Then in IoT, or Industrial Internet of Things, we provide solutions, consulting, implementation services, and training, and the same for augmented reality as well. So those are the three core elements of our solutions and services. So now I think what we'll do now is I'll hand over to Dom so he can talk you through technical documentation and what traditional technical documentation looks like.
Perfect. Thanks, Neil. Again, as Neil mentioned, to talk about improving technical docs, we're going to start with kind of what traditional documentation might look like. In the past and traditionally, Typically, we have maybe a Word or PowerPoint as a base software, and then we're outletting to Photoshop and some of the other illustrators to complete some of the tasks, bringing that information back into Word or PowerPoint, and kind of a really of a long process with a lot of manual data entry. Also, no connection to who added data or where the data came from, as well as if this data is in date or out of date. It's all manual date entry as well, which is, as we'll talk about a little bit more, very critical. So here's an example of what traditional tech docs might look like. A very standard Excel sheet, or maybe, as I mentioned, a Word document with all the information added manually by the author, as well as the author going through and meticulously having to adjust every little detail, as well as add every bit of information and go and fetch information from whoever they might need to get information that they can't clarify themselves. So why do we need to update technical documentation? Why are these old methods becoming obsolete? So a variety of different reasons. Mainly, we have increasing complexity. So on the product side, we have much shorter product development cycles. So products are coming to market much faster. While they're coming to market and after they're coming to market, there's a lot more changes throughout the process, iterations, if you will. And then we have a large amount of variance. So if you think of in the automotive industry, when you're ordering a car, all those options, you have hundreds and hundreds of different variants that a product is capable of being produced with. And then we also have on the customer side, variety of formats that they want or need the documentation to be in, multiple languages, as companies are, of course, global, not only global, but also in a fast-paced global setting where they need to release information very quickly to their service branches all across the world. And then different media, so we're maybe doing mobile or tablet or computer, as well as some 3D media. So a lot is changing, and essentially the complexity, the speed needs to be managed better. So improving your technical documentation, as Neil mentioned, the Rapid Author Interactive 3D Suite. So this is a tool specifically made for technical documentation, and it's broken up into several subtools that focus on the outputs. So it's a tool designed specifically for part catalogs, maintenance manuals, training materials, work instructions, operation manuals, and then training applications, as well as a few more, and everything in between. So it is fairly robust. The benefits of the Rapid Author tool, just at a glance, it's a single tool, as I mentioned, capable of all those different outputs. There's no CAD experience required for the author to work with the tools. It's very, very intuitive. You're able to easily attach any documentation, 2D documentation or screenshots or any information that you really want to bring in to the output. You can bring in into Rapid Author. You're able to import existing product CAD information. So you're using the actual part information that you'll be working with in the documentation. The output has really smooth interactive navigation. So you're able to manipulate in a very lightweight form the entire assembly and mess around and hide and show and make some parts transparent. So really, really interactive on the output. And then it's robust enough to handle the revisions and modifications that will inevitably come, as I mentioned, during the actual product creation, as well as after the product release. We have all kinds of different revisions and recalls and modifications that need to be made to the product, and therefore also need to be made to the product technical documentation. So we're going to jump into the Rapid Author tool. I'll show you guys the outputs for Rapid Catalog and Rapid Manual. So first, looking at Rapid Catalog, the goal of this subpiece of the software is to generate the annotated 2D images, as well as that 3D navigation that you have. It essentially creates a interactive illustrator built in with your parts catalog, as well as I mentioned, the ability to go into those illustrations and make customizations with a little bit more detail. And then Rapid Manual is the same foundational software. It'll look relatively familiar in terms of output, but it's going to be more focused on the actual manual creation. So it's going to have efficient animations. So you'll see a nice workflow of your product through different steps that you make. And this is, again, we're using the same data that you would take the data from Rapid Catalog. However, Rapid Manual is a little bit more of an extensive process. So you are able to start this while the product is being developed. So you can begin the actual manual creation before the product is done, as well as manual is very, very robust. So Neil mentioned some of the outputs down the line, some AR implementation, as well as some of the more kind of final form presentation ability. We can use manual as a foundation and build on top of that to, again, as I mentioned, some of the AR and other down the line possibilities. So I'm going to go jump into, as I mentioned, first an output of Rapid Catalog and then an output of Rapid Manual, the illustrated output for Catalog. I'll toggle through the sheets as you just heard me go through, I guess. We have full interactivity between the components and the parts catalog. We have those 2D sheets that I've been talking about associated with each of the sheets that you have for the actual outputs. And mainly, again, want to show the context you have when you're showing from one page to another. And then as we dive deeper, just some of the kind of cool features in terms of transparency, as well as association between the catalog. And further down the line, you have the ability to integrate ordering right into this. So if you have a specific bolt, so here we have a really small component, here we can click on this nut, understand the part number, and then we have opportunity to even integrate an ordering system into this right built into the catalog tool. So again, that was the summary for Rapid Catalog. Now we're moving on to Rapid Manual, which has the same foundation in terms of bringing if you guys can see this, let me know if you can't, the same foundation for bringing in that assembly, reusing all the CAD data, making it fully interactive, and then able to use a series of actions to build out a maintenance manual. So here on the left, we have all of the actions kind of in 2D form with some specific information as well as some real world images attached. On the right, we have an illustration as well as an animation. So as we play the animation, it will go through each of the actions on the left smoothly on the right. At any point in this process, we can pause it, manipulate it, just like we did in Rapid Catalog, and make things transparent and get really familiar with where things are in the manual. So here we have actual call outs in the animation showing what to look for, what to make sure is fitted correctly, leveraging a section view here. And then shortly, you'll actually be prompted with, we'll have tools that come in. So giving the user really, really good understanding of just where everything is. So here I want to pause it quick and just talk about the warning sign that came up. That's rather inconspicuous off to the top, but we could have an actual hard stop that says, warning, these are all the things that need to be done before you move on in terms of maybe power or what tools you have ready, just to save time and of course increase safety. Here we have a hard stop for making sure the bolts are tightened to a specific value. So this actually requires input to move forward from there. But again, at any point, I can scrub this animation. It will adjust on the left which step I'm in, and I can pause and really manipulate and get a really good understanding for what is happening during this step. So the final output that we're looking at right now is very smooth, and it's going to allow you to adjust and reuse any chunk of existing data. So if you have maintenance manuals that start off the same and then split when you're really making a small adjustment to a component, you can reuse as much data as possible and then make that change, of course, further down the line. So, and as well as being able to piece different completed manuals together to create more of a full, an entire output for a full assembly. So I'll go back to PowerPoint. Again, let me know if you guys are having
Yep,
trouble
got it.
seeing this screen. Okay, perfect. All right, moving on to the high level benefits. So you're able to spend some time looking at the actual tool, messing around with the output. So you guys might have a baseline understanding, just a first look at the tool. So creating the parts catalog in a much faster manner, creating the manual in a much faster manner, but also having the ability to make the change very quickly. So when you put all the work into building that structure of sheets, as you saw, or the actual order of operations for your manual, all that structure will stay the same. As much information will stay the same when you make changes to the actual CAD data, when you make changes if you swap out a component. As much data that stays the same will be left untouched. So it's not only saving time on the initial creation, but also saving a lot of time for every update that you have to make. In terms of cost savings, you have the interactive navigation. So you have the ability to get a way better understanding and have a really reliable ordering process. So this will save time and cost when you're making the maintenance as a service member, when you're trying to get up to speed as an internal member, really, and anyone who's interacting with these technical documentations will have an increased benefit of cost. And then, as we saw, some small safety stops as well as compliance. You have the ability to automatically be confident that your safety is achieved and any specific industry compliance. So these were very simple outputs, very simple examples. However, you'll be able to customize the outputs to make sure you have not only a very, very repetitive output, a very consistent output, but also that you meet all of your compliance issues for whatever industry you're in. So lastly, just want to talk about a quick case study. So we have an example here. I want to talk about a car wash manufacturer based in Europe. So the challenge was that, of course, they've been around for a while, so they've gone through a lot of changes in their system. So over 70 years of iterations. They are a very, very large manufacturer, and they export products to 62 plus countries and employ hundreds of employees. And so they have a really large organization and a very ever-changing and large assembly for their actual product line. So they were able to implement specifically the parts catalog and the illustrated parts catalog, Rapid Authors tool, and reduce their production time by 80%, as well as save costs by over 60%, as every change they made took a fraction of the time. So this is a great example of kind of a widespread company and a very fast iterating company to stay at the top of the market. Whether it's a small change or whether they did a very large overhaul, the ability to have all the documentation be released to all of the service centers worldwide and have every coworker, every employee be able to have it in their language and understand it with the visual cues that we saw, really leading to the success for this company. So I'll hand it back over to Neil if Neil can cover some of the outsourcing potential we have at CAD-IT.
Thanks, Dom. Okay, guys, so I just wanted to quickly talk through as Dom said, the outsourcing potential we have. So what do we do? If you could just skip on to the next slide, Dom, that'd be great. Thanks. So we focus on the development of your technical documentation, which ultimately gives you time to focus on running the rest of the business or the rest of your after sales department. And why, I guess, why would you want to outsource it to us? Well, across the globe, we employ authors with significant experience in a broad range of industries. This kind of ensures that the publications are produced to the utmost quality, but also irrespective of locations, because we have people in all different continents across the world. So by outsourcing your technical publications, you'll also increase your workforce without all of the negative overheads, such as operational costs and human resources costs, etc. We're ISO 9001 and 14001 accredited, meaning that the documentation we produce adheres to all the industry standards and regulations. And I guess the real key benefit of outsourcing your technical publications to us is that we provide digitized 3D interactive publications, which enables technicians to get their job done a lot faster. It reuses content, as Dom just showed you. It reuses 3D content from engineering, which in turn reduces downtime and training costs. Whereas before, you'd be creating new content, and a lot of content would also be siloed and would need updated, and you don't necessarily know when it needs updated. But our source information is the engineering design data, which filters through all of our 3D interactive publications. So that's just a bit of an overview of why you should outsource your technical documentation. And finally, I wanted to give you guys an idea of our general end-to-end approach when we take on an outsourcing project. So first of all, we usually look at the service strategy and talk to our customers about what their service strategy is, how they plan to maintain their vehicles or assets. We then usually go into service engineering, which is assessing a design for its ability to be serviced. So we do a lot of back and forth, optimizing the design with engineering, which ultimately reduces warranty costs in the future. From that, we then go into solution implementation. So we usually design a publications solution, or a solution that allows data to be taken from engineering and passed to after sales or service, if you like. So we design a solution that works really well for that. And then we begin to create the content, so author content. And that sort of goes back to what I was saying about outsourcing your technical authoring. So we author the content, and then we provide training on how to use the systems, but also how to use the content. And finally, we use analytics to monitor how the content is performing out in the field. So how many clicks a bulletin or a parts catalog is getting, if there are any issues with that, and then we feed that back into the authors, and they can make rectifications where required. So that's just an overview of our end-to-end approach. It would be great if anyone is interested in outsourcing their publications to get in contact with us, and we can give you a much better in-depth demo of how it all works, and you can have a good look around all of the different solutions that we have. So I'll pass back to you guys for any questions. So thank you very much for listening.
So I can see we've got a few questions that have come in already. The first one is, when would I start to see a return on investment?
I'll take this, Neil. So the return on investment is interesting. So it's obviously the authors are going to have to get up to speed. It's a very, very smooth process. It takes a little bit of thinking of how you're going to want to structure it, as it is a little bit different than traditional tech doc. So given that you know how you want to lay out those sheets and lay out the manual, you'll see return on investment, as I mentioned, as soon as a few of the authors are up to speed. So you'll see a notable return once they're up to speed, and then a good return more and more over the 3-4 month mark, as you start having the authors get really comfortable with the tool, and then they're really able to leverage its full capability. So I would say right away you'll see a noticeable increase, and then over the next few months you'll really start to see more.
I guess sort of carrying on from our question, how long does it take to train employees?
So training an employee, if they've been an author, or maybe have some experience in the tool. So just specifically regarding the Rapid Author tool, very little time. If you're switching, if you already know how to author, if you're switching over a very, very short time, I don't want to give a specific example or timeline. I guess we do offer training upon implementation, and sometimes I give that training. So I can say just a few days to get up to speed. And then, as I mentioned, you will get that extra level of precision as a few months progress.
Thanks, Dominic. Next one is, how long does it take to implement?
Well, just however long it takes to download, I guess. No, it's very short implementation if you're using the tool kind of standalone. We do offer a lot of PLM integration, and it gets some of the implementation gets a little bit more complex in terms of the actual time to implement. But then, of course, with some time savings in the future. So depends on your specific scenario. I hate to give a generic example, but it could be as short as a few hours or maybe a few days. But typically, just to get started with the examples I showed today, that would just be a few hours.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the last question is, what happens to the old data?
So this is an interesting question. The old information can, of course, be brought in. There's different ways to reuse the old data. That's one of the benefits of this solution. However, if it's a really early project and it has a lot of iterations left, a lot of life left in it, then then the decision might be made to bring it in internally, kind of organically in this suite that we showed. So it would be a deciding factor whether, pretty much based on how much life is left in the actual product. Let's say if it's something that just rolled off the assembly line that's going to be in the workforce for a few decades, then you might make that decision to do the work in the actual Rapid Author tool and have all the benefits that you would. But you won't lose all data. You're able to bring it in very, very organically into the solution.
That was it for the questions.
Great.
That's great. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. And please do get in touch